there's
Yes,
any
yes.
background noise. Okay.
Can you hear me too?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I have my dear brother Daniel, who I have read his work and watched his videos. And recently, I'm watching his debate with one of the murtad. It's been, mashallah, it's 4 hours. I'm into second hour. And I've decided to watch each night 1 hour at least. So inshallah, it's going to be 4 days. I will be able to finish it. And then you have a second session where you explain the post debate. And that also I'm going to watch. It's 1 hour. Jazakallah khair akhi for being here. Hopefully, we have more sessions like this. And may Allah bless you for your work, that you are standing clearly, unapologetically, and explaining to people what Islam is. And what I love the most about your approach and how you articulate the message of Islam, you're not going back that, oh, you know what, I'm sorry that we have these views and so what. So, okay, you're questioning their position. So what, especially what you did with um, this Murtad recently, when he said Islam is waging war, and you explained how the Western countries are doing it. So may Allah bless you for doing that. Today's topic is who is winning. Who is winning? What I mean by who is winning, the discourse of Muslim dawah and how we represent ourselves to the wider community has changed. Our dawah has become more clickbait. Our videos have become more socially and politically correct. We are more careful what we have to say, what we should not say. And similarly, we are more kind of opening our arms to people who are somehow showing that they are with us, apparently. And then we hug them, we embrace them, we stand for them, and we can go in deep those examples. So, in this scenario that you see, what's your opinion? Who is winning? We are winning as Muslims, or the liberals, or the Democrats, or the Western discourse of Western civilization? Who's winning in this 21st century?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu salam ala rasulillah.
Um,
Jazakallah khair for having me on your program. I'm very happy to be speaking with you. And I mean, this is a very important topic. What kind of approach, what kind of strategy is winning? I think that when we look at liberal politics and the kind of secular attitudes, they have a lot of power and control, and they have entire armies that are defending that kind of attitude, approach, form of politics and government, right? We live in
yep.
a world where there is so much bias in favor of a secular worldview, and that's anti-Islam, is anti-Quran and Sunnah. So when you have that kind of environment, the that side has a lot of advantages in their favor. But at the end of the day, we have the Quran, we have the Sunnah, and that's really the most important thing, to have the help of Allah, and ultimately tawfiq and successes in the hands of Allah. So all we have to do as Muslims is to hold tight to our deen. We have to hold tight to the truth, what we know is the truth, and Allah will give us success in this life and in the akhirah. So as far as the whether we're winning, there have been many circumstances in
Mhm.
history, as we even read in the Quran, where Muslims and the believers have been attacked
Mhm.
and have faced very bad circumstances, very negative situation, and Allah eventually gave them success as long as they were sincere and as long as they held on to the message. So we have to have the same approach. If we start compromising,
Mhm.
then this is a losing strategy. If we start hiding and changing our deen and compromising, thinking that it's going to bring some benefit to us in this life, in this world, then that's when we lose big time. This is the biggest loss.
Jazakallah khair. You said that previously it has happened to our Salaf and people after them, the ulama. But do you think the strategy, the way they were doing things, were explicit, lakum dinukum wal yadin? But today, we have missed everything with Islam and the current situation, and we label it, that's the hikmah. For example, joining alliance with LGBTQ community and standing up for them, defending their rights. similarly to other communities that we have seen. So, do you see that as a progress towards winning and promoting the values of Islam, or something somehow you say mixing the value of Islam with other people?
Yeah, I think that's losing. That's big time losing when we compromise. So you mentioned LGBT. If Muslims
Hmm.
start compromising on this, then where do you draw the line? Compromising on this means you are allying and you are collaborating with the modern version of Qawm Lut. So the people of Lut alayhi salam. And this is something very significant that is mentioned. Lut alayhi salam and his people is mentioned in 80 ayat,
Hmm.
about 80 ayat of the Quran. And so this is not a light issue, or this is not something that is small. This is a major issue in Islam. And if we just, how can you read those ayat about those people and what they were doing and think that it's okay to compromise and, oh, we're friends, let's work together. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. And how can you come away with that possibility if you have truly read the Quran on Qawm Lut, if you've looked at the history of Qawm Lut? So this is a losing strategy. Even if that's the problem with some
Hmm.
Muslims, maybe you'll agree with me
Yes, I do agree
today,
with you on that.
that they want to they're looking
Appeal
for
to the
approval. They're
yes,
appealing. They're appealing.
yeah.
They want approval. They want acceptance. Their final goal. They think that
Mhm.
Islam is succeeding if non-Muslims, if kuffar are going to accept you and smile at you
Mhm.
and be nice to you, then that means that, oh, you're successful. That's their entire goal. So this is, who says that this is a goal? I'm not saying be belligerent. I'm not saying we just want to be constantly antagonistic to
Mhm.
non-Muslims. No, we want to invite them to Islam because we care for everyone's salvation. We care about everyone knowing Allah. We care
Mhm.
about everyone accepting Islam and living a beautiful, happy life in the dunya and in the akhirah. That's what we want for everyone.
Sahih.
But the final goal, they if they reject it and
Mhm.
they don't accept it, okay, then we've done our part. We have given the message, and then the decision is up to them. Our goal should not be they have to like Muslims, they have
Mhm.
to like Islam, because
Sahih.
you have non-Muslims in the US, for example, that they say, oh yeah, we love Islam. Islam is good, but it's because they don't know anything about Islam, or they have a distorted understanding of Islam. And then if you show them, like, this is what our book says, this is what the
Mhm.
Quran says, this is what our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
said and did, then they say, no, I reject that. I This is not the version of Islam that I accept. I accept the version of Islam that is very politically correct and gentle and only about love and mercy, and no talking about
Mhm.
Jahannam, no talking about adab, no talking about all of these issues that are politically incorrect. So they have a distorted version of Islam that they've accepted. So,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, this is my next point, that the message of Islam, we have somehow shape it, or you can say color it in the way that fits how I'm going to be remembered by the people. It's more has become like funny speaker culture, or you can say he is very soft spoken person, but it's no longer the point that you know what you are doing is wrong. So we have labeled everything as a don't judge the person, only Allah can judge them. And the dawah, the call is not there to come and accept Islam, but the call is there to kind of say, you know what, we are not this, we are not this, we are not this, we are not this. But there is no call that who we really are. Like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we know very well that he sent letters to many kings and prince, and he at the end told them to accept Islam. In that letter, many ulama, including At-Tabari, he agreed that this is a ayah from Surah Baqarah 64. قل يا أهل الكتاب تعالى إلى كلمة سواء بيننا بينكم. At the end, he said that okay, you know what, you should come to Islam and protect yourself from Jahannam, and you will be secure in dunya as well. So what I see today is we are explaining to them their misconception about Islam, but there is nothing that we are telling them, this is what Islam is and you should accept it. This is what my opinion is. What do you think about this point?
I agree with you. I agree with you. We have to remember that if we go back to the kalima of La
Hmm.
ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah has two components. La
Yeah.
ilaha, there is no gods, there is no
Hmm.
object of worship. That's a negative component. That's a negative message. You're
Yeah.
saying there's not. Then
There,
illallah,
there,
except
mhm,
Allah, that's the positive component. So there's both
mhm,
negative and positive. And our dawah, my philosophy is that our dawah has to be also negative and positive. We say this is what we are not about, this is what we
mhm,
don't accept. We reject
mhm,
these false idols and accept this is the truth. This is what who Allah is. This is what Tawheed is. This is what Quran is saying. This is what we stand for.
mhm.
So I agree with you. It has to have both components.
There is a, also I want to ask you a question that there's a misconception. Islam is very strict about gender separation and how it should be conducted if it's an event or Muslim prayer or whatever event we have. But right now you see many speakers, they have female with them on the live show, they have female with them on the stage, they have female with them sharing stage, sitting together close by. How do you see this as a clear message of what Islam is articulating, trying to articulate? Oh, this is just distorting the actual message of Islam by just, you want to feel like, what, I'm not really different than you. That's why you're giving women such platforms and also can give them such platform. Your opinion about it?
You have a lot of pressure
Hmm.
on Muslims from feminists, from those who think that they have a very specific vision of women and women's participation. And they think that if you have an event or a conference and there's not a woman present as a speaker at every single event, every single speech,
Hmm.
then you are oppressing women. This means that you are hiding women, you don't care about women, you are oppressing women. And this is their standards. This is their feminist understanding of what is right and wrong and what is justice. And in Islam, we don't accept this. Just because we don't have women in public in front of everyone with pretty face and looking very nice and attractive, and
Hmm.
putting her on stage in front of everyone for every man to see. Just because we don't do that, that doesn't mean we are oppressing women. In fact, those who do these things,
Hmm.
they're the ones who are oppressing women. They're the ones who are violating modesty. They're violating these very important human principles that everyone accepts. Everyone in their fitrah, they know
Hmm.
internally that this is not something that's right. We have to have this ghaira for women, for our mothers, our daughters, our wives, that every human being has this instinct. Okay, even non-Muslims, deep down, they know that why are we putting women, our, who we care about and we love, we're putting them in a position for everyone to look at them and enjoy their beauty. Why? This is something that is
The Kim,
perverse.
I don't know if it's the right name to even say it here. Kim Kardashian husband, he made that point in one of his videos.
Mhm.
He said that, I don't feel okay when people look at my wife and she is all naked and all that.
No.
This is something I call them, I have a video about that. I call them rented husband. Rented husband. Okay,
Yeah.
mashallah, you are doing great job and your wife is also doing great work online. She has a courses and doing all the work. Similarly, Zakir Naik's wife, if you follow some of her work, mashallah, it's a great work being done by her, but you don't see her face. She's not coming here, sharing stage with Zakir Naik. But the work, alhamdulillah, done. Similarly, alhamdulillah, my wife is involved in dawah, but nobody has seen her face, what she's doing, but the effect is there. It's more likely clear message. This is what we do, and that's how we do it. Uh, my next question is, Akhi, which group do you think is the biggest threat to the Muslim youth in this time and age?
It's the liberal secularists,
Mhm,
those who are claiming that they have reason and rationality. They're claiming that they're coming with moral truths and moral ideas. They're
mhm,
the ones because they claim that they're Muslim, many of them, they say we're Muslim, but their beliefs, their ideology, their understanding of the world is all determined by liberal secular ideology, not Islam, right? So even those
Yes.
at the conferences that we're talking about,
Mhm.
it's a Muslim conference. And it's
Yeah.
not only a Muslim conference, it's an Islamic topics that they're talking about, but they're not applying themselves and conducting themselves according to Islamic values. They're conducting themselves according to feminist values, secular values. So
So
then,
just to point, I know a imam or sheikh who's supposed to come for Islamic conference, and he find out there's no Muslim speaker, he left. I'm sure you know the person, and I was very surprised.
no,
It
I don't
happened.
know.
It actually happened. It's a very well-known news. I don't know how you don't know, but it's a well-known news in America. There was a conference, and he find out there's no Muslim women speaker. He left, and
Oh,
he's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
actually, yeah. So this is the point. Very unfortunate. Please continue. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was shocking. Like he wanted to, there was a conference he was invited to, and then he said, "Oh, there's no women speakers, so I'm not going to participate in this." So that's
Yeah, I'm sorry. Mhm.
says that their values
Yeah,
are not in accordance with Islam. If you go even 10 years ago, such a thing was unheard of, that
yeah.
you're not going to participate in a conference because there are no women standing, showing themselves. So this is the biggest danger, in my opinion,
Hmm.
because it's distorting Islam. It's saying that these other values, these other ideas and beliefs, these are Islamic. They're putting an Islamic label on it when it's
Sahih.
not. It's the opposite of Islam. So this is a kind of, if you know the expression, a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
They're sneaking it, and this has much because if it's someone openly, there, for example, someone openly criticizing an atheist or a murtad,
Hmm.
openly criticizing Islam, then every Muslim will reject that person and say, no, we don't want to follow you or listen to you. But what if that same person who is following liberalism and secularism, they say, I'm a Muslim, not only I'm a Muslim, I'm a scholar of Islam, and then they come and they preach, then that person will be taken seriously, and that has the great potential of fooling and tricking Muslims. So, in my
So that.
opinion, this is a big
Mhm.
danger.
So now the two signals are coming. Number one, liberals who are non-Muslim. Number two, who are liberals who define themselves as a Muslim, but as you said, they're sneaking their own ideology into Islam and trying to portray that this is the Sharia. So now my question is, how should we tackle the first signal and the second signal?
They both can be tackled in the same way, because if we attack liberalism
Mhm.
and secularism and show how these are false ideologies, how they are dangerous, how they lead to corruption, not only corruption of Muslims, it leads to the corruption of human beings. These are philosophies that are so dangerous to the human being. And
Mhm.
if we understand this point, then it will help the non-Muslim, and it will help Muslims see that we have to reject this. We have to move away from this.
Sahih. So now the point is, there is a huge focus on the Muslims and how we do things and how we are doing it wrong. If it's our economic condition or there are other conditions, do you think in the dawah we should focus on the problem that the West is facing and they're not necessarily portraying in the media? For example, depression, you have NSAID problem, you have these abortion issues, and millions of children have been aborted. What's the right way to, like, you can say, explain to them that system that they have, they feel is the best system for them, is not actually the best system?
I think it's very useful to point out these kinds of problems that are so common and that are destroying Western society. And the image that I think of is that you have Western society that is suffering from all of these problems, like you're mentioning,
Yeah.
like depression, mental health problems, mass violence. The society is sick if you have people that are just going with a gun and shooting innocent, random people. This is something that shows a sickness in society, a deep sickness. All of these issues that they're suffering from is taking them down, and then they want to pull the Muslim world down with them. So we have to be very confident that Islam has the solution to these issues. Islam has the solution for living harmoniously, living a happy and a beautiful life. We have to be confident about that and share it with others and not try to change what we have to match their sickness.
Jazakallah khair, akhi. May Allah bless you. And this is what I love about your work, that you use terms which are clear to the people. And I think you're amongst the few people usually calling ex-Muslim murtad. Some of them don't even call them murtad and not explain to them what they're up to. I find out about two things in the debate, that you were debating that murtad, and he didn't define his position, from which position he was coming from. Do you think in the debate or in discussion with the liberals, if he's a Muslim, if he's a non-Muslim, I would just mention, you are the guest and I'm talking so much, subhanAllah. I will just mention one thing, that I was speaking to a sister from Pakistan, and she had left Islam. And then she told me, you know what, Islam is telling me you should wear the hijab. And then I said, you know what, the liberals are telling you you should take off the hijab. So now where's your own choice? Do you see my point? So what is your own position? If you're saying Islam is telling me A and I'm doing B, so therefore that B is my choice. It's actually a delusion of choice. And Noam Chomsky has written great work on this delusion of choice. So my point is, when we are speaking to these liberal Muslims, or you can say the murtads or the non-Muslim, how should we talk to them? From which ground? And how should we define the conversation? How should we define a flow for the conversation? If you can give us the details about it, inshallah.
Well, I think it's very valuable to make the point that you made, that, well, how does the liberal, the secularist, how do they know what is good for a human being? How do they know what is going to lead to happiness? Even in the dunya, if they want to reject the akhirah, okay, let's put that question aside and just tell me, how do you know what is the best for dunya, for your life that you're living for 60, 70, 80 years? How do you know what is going to make you happy? How do you know what is going to bring you the most peace and comfort in your life? The secularist doesn't have an answer to this. What they say is that all we care about is choice. You need to be given the choice to choose A or B. This is the most important thing. But does choice really bring happiness? Does choice really bring a peace and harmony to your life? What if the majority of people choose something that is very bad for them? What if the majority of people choose something that will harm them and will cause them grief and misery, and will also cause their families grief and misery? This will destroy society. This will cause great deal of harm. So, and also with choice, the thing is that people think of themselves as being rational. They think that they can make the best choice, when in reality, most people choose whatever is common in society. Isn't that true? Because look, these Westerners who are talking about they have so much freedom and choice. Let's focus on women, since you mentioned hijab. They think, oh, we have so much freedom and choice. We can choose whatever we want. But if you look at their fashions, they all dress the same way. They all wear their hair in the same way. They all buy the same bags. They all buy the same shoes, right? So if you have so much choice and you're so free, why is everyone the same? Because you're not making a truly free choice. You haven't thought and considered what is best. You just look at what is common, what you see in the fashion magazine, what the celebrity is wearing, and then you buy the same thing. And you want to claim that you are practicing free choice. So this is a joke. This is a farce. If there's truly a rational consideration, then you would realize that what Islam is prescribing, what Allah has commanded, that is what is truly rational. That is what is truly something that makes the most sense. And you even see it in the animal kingdom. If you look at any kind of animal, most animals, the female is usually less bright than the male. Think about birds. If you look at the different, like a peacock,
Mm-hmm.
Tavus, for example. You
Yeah.
have
That was.
the male is the one that has the beautiful feathers and is
Mm-hmm.
bright and is showing himself, and the
Mm-hmm.
female is not like that. Why? What is the wisdom that Allah has created them like this? Why is it the male that is in front and has to show himself? It's for the
Mm-hmm.
benefit of the female, because the female chooses the male. The female doesn't dance for men. For
Mm-hmm.
the male birds, she's the
Mm-hmm.
one that has to choose the best mate. So this
Sahih.
is this is a big wisdom in the animal kingdom. It has to do with what is best for that creature. So the human being is the same way, and Islam is the same way. The female is covered; she doesn't
Mm-hmm.
show her beauty, because
Mm-hmm.
the women. The thing is that women, females, they have to they do more for
Mm-hmm.
childbearing, because they get pregnant for 9 months. They need a strong man, a strong male, to provide for them and protect them and their children. So she has to be very picky about who she selects. Isn't
Sahih.
that true? So
Sahih.
this,
Sahih.
so there's a deep logic and a deep wisdom behind. And this is just one of many things that we can point out with the wisdom of hijab. If people really reflect and they think on a deep level about hijab, even the non-Muslim will recognize that this is the truth and this is the correct way to dress and to behave. But so they claim that they have reason and choice and all of this, but this is just propaganda.
Jazakallah khair. Just on the point that before I go to propaganda, I have a question about this choice thing. When you see, we are talking about the hijabis, particular, of course, there are Muslim brothers as well. We're not saying only the sisters. They make a choice. YouTubers, for example, they dress the same way, they travel to the same place. That's a pilgrimage to Dubai. They do Hajj there. They come back and feel like, okay, we are enlightened now, subhanallah. Uh, and then they make a choice of taking off the hijab, and then they make a choice of targeting the wider audience, speaking about the topic that cover everyone. My question is, we should definitely ask them. They say we know about our choice, so we should ask them, how do you know that this choice is a good choice? So what? Since mashallah, you're also on YouTube and you have seen people. Uh, what's your advice to people, to the followers, also the people who are following these choices? What they're doing is actually not a correct choice. For example, taking off the hijab, and the sisters who are following them, the people are going, no, don't judge her. No, of course I should judge her. There's a clear verse in the Quran, there's a clear hadith that this don't judge me culture. Can you say something about don't judge me culture? Like, how should we tackle it?
Yeah, I don't know how that makes sense. Don't judge me. If
Hmm.
someone comes and uh, says something rude or says something ugly or says something racist or says something sexist, do
Hmm.
they also say don't judge those?
Hmm.
If I come and say something like, you know, I don't know what, that's a racist or sexist, you're going to say that, well, you shouldn't say that, or that's an ugly thing to do. Or if I come and I push someone smaller than me, I just push them, you're going to say,
Hmm.
stop that. Why are you're going to stop me? You're going to do amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar. You're going to
Hmm.
tell me to, you're going to enjoin good and you're going to forbid evil, right? So on certain issues, they do judge. They
Right.
even go more than judging. They will actually stop you physically. Look at right now, there are all these protests happening
Hmm.
in around the country about racism,
Hmm.
and they are tearing down statues, and they're doing. So it's judgmental, right? It's they're judging. I'm not saying that fighting against racism is bad, but it is judgmental. They are making a judgment. But when it comes to certain aspects of Islam and Islam's values,
Hmm.
when Islam says we should act modestly, we should cover, or we should not mix genders, then, oh, now suddenly we shouldn't judge. Now we have to look away. So this tells you that their values and their beliefs are really liberal values, but they're just trying to use these excuses to hide that. And when it comes to Islam, then suddenly they don't care enough to, or they want to defend their behavior by saying don't judge.
Again, in this team, liberals are winning. And don't judge me, team liberals are winning.
They're trying
Uh,
to win with this. They're trying to
mhm.
win.
That's actually very common amongst the Muslims, and then you can say not practicing Muslim, especially people on the media. And they have new phrase to use, that this is my personal life and this is my professional life. Is there something such exist in Islam, like personal life and professional life?
Mm. Yeah, I never heard that. What do they mean by that?
They're like saying, okay, you know what, you this my professional life is talking, making nasheed, making hijab tutorial. This is my professional life, but my personal life is like, you know what, I'm not wearing hijab, I'm not going to mosque, I'm not praying. That's
Oh,
my personal life. This is a new thing that's coming up. I have heard from few people. It was very surprising that now such thing also exists in Islam: professional life and
yeah.
personal life. Subhanallah. My question about the movement of LGBTQ and other movement, you know very well, than the past in history, when any society or country they wanted to be a state, or they want to be recognized by the people, they need to work for hundreds of years in order to get that status that today what the community has. What is the benefit of the government or corporation in dividing people? They are literally just dividing people, dividing families, and what's their benefits? If you can explain to me in that regard.
Can you give me a more specific example of government dividing people?
Yeah, for example, they are saying, okay, you know what? If you're bisexual, you're one community. If you're gay, you're a second community. If you're lesbian, you're third community. They're just trying to make them, community, 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 and then just divide them. What is their benefits, or what they can gain from dividing people? Like there's no such thing one humanity in one community.
Yeah, so maybe you're referring to identity politics,
Yeah.
and every community needs to be concerned with itself and
Mhm.
its own interests. So the benefit for a government to do that is divide and conquer. It makes it easy to pit different groups against each other.
Mhm.
If these two minority groups are fighting each other, then they're busy and they won't turn their attention to the crimes and the
Mhm.
injustice that we're committing as a government. So it has a very clear benefit. Islamically, we have to be speaking about what are the interests of human beings,
Mhm.
what are the interests of human beings as a whole, and then
Mhm.
also we are concerned about our interests as the ummah as well.
Mhm.
We have to care about the ummah,
Mhm.
but we are also, that doesn't mean that we have no consideration for
Mhm.
humanity. And when we look at humanity, Islam is not racist. We don't divide people on the basis of their race or their ethnicity or their cultural background. So we don't accept this kind of identity politics. Now, in the United States, there's a big movement of Black Lives Matter,
Mhm.
and it is in many respects very problematic. In some respects, I think we agree, Muslims agree, that police should not be committing oppression and injustice against blacks or any other group. So we agree with that. But another aspect of this Black Lives Matter movement is identity politics, that we are victims and that we are like LGBT, we are like trans, and we are like these other
Mhm.
groups, and that that's their, it's a victimhood ideology. But Muslims should not adopt that. We should not view ourselves as victims, even when
Mhm.
we're oppressed. We should view ourselves as, no, we're going to rise up, we're going to be strong, we're going to join together as believers, as an ummah, and we're going to fight back against oppression. So there's a different mentality between victimhood
Mhm.
and it's recognizing, yes, oppression exists, but we're going to be strong, and we're not waiting for these oppressors
Mhm.
to give us anything. We're
Mhm.
not, because they're never going to do that. The oppressor is never going to willingly give up its oppression. Rather, we have to be willing to join and become stronger as an ummah together. And if we are constantly thinking in the mode of identity politics,
Mhm.
of you're black, you're white, you're an immigrant, South Asian or Arab, and we divide ourselves, then we won't be able to be a united ummah against the oppressor.
Sahid, may Allah bless you for the answer. There is a one problem we are also facing, that uh, if you see videos online, when they are portraying Muslim, that people should be kind to Muslim, they portray them as a weak person, like you can say bus driver, or taxi driver, or somebody who is in the waiting room for the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that image, I do not really agree. Being victimized and being weak. No, we are not. Alhamdulillah, we have people saying the Muslim countries are not rich. There are Muslim countries who are richer than most Western countries, but no, media is not focusing on them. Media is only showing what's good in the Western countries. But if you really show what's happening in Europe and America, wallahi, in Afghanistan, I've been there. We don't have a single homeless. That's poorest country in the world. He's a homeless because you don't have money or house. Not a single. It's because it's
SubhanAllah.
always covered by the community, by the cousin, uncle. All the people are there for him. Maybe he's a drug addict, is a different thing, but not a single homeless person is there. There is no social security system. Not a single homeless. Nobody can point that. It's the community. And the there was a research, I think, I don't know exactly from which organization. They're saying that the most life satisfaction are with those people who feel oneness. The research, I think 2 3 days ago, was research.
Mm-hmm.
My point is that the Muslim, they have portrayed themselves the victim of the Western foreign policies and all those that. And for that reason, in Germany, it was trending for many days. The top search for, I'm sorry to say that, the refugee naked film.
Hmm.
Like, they have
Yeah.
created such material, and that was a top search in Germany.
Wow.
It was interesting. That's how they want to see us. Do you understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
That they don't have problem. My point is that we should be not displaying ourselves the victim, but we are saying, what, we are strong, but we have little problem, not amongst ourselves because of the people. Inshallah, we will be on top one day. So that's my suggestion to the filmmakers and all those people. Do you think media is playing a huge role? Of course, they're playing a huge role to victimize Muslims and dehumanize them and show them that they are the negative people. Uh, what should be done against that?
Yeah, I agree completely that there's a big media narrative, like you
Mhm,
said, of either Muslims are these violent, irrational terrorists,
mhm,
or these violent refugees that are committing crimes. Either we're in that, or we're weak victims who we can't do anything. We need the white, or we need the government to come, the Western governments to save us and to help us. So these are the only two extremes that are being portrayed, and in the minds of Western non-Muslims, this becomes the image of Islam that they have. And for Muslims, this is also feeds into their mentality, and it affects them psychologically. So we have to break free from these kinds of caricatures about Muslims and Islam, and we have to develop our own narrative about the strength of Islam and the strength of Muslims according to our values. So part of that is education, part of that is our own media. A big part of that is we need to get our community off of mass media.
mhm,
This is what I often talk about, is that unplug the TV, unplug the TV, in the sense that don't watch the mainstream news, don't
mhm,
watch the mainstream media, because as long as that TV is playing the mainstream news, you're introducing a lot of poison into your house, and that's affecting your mind, the mind of your children, the mind of your spouse. So just unplug the source of that. And then online on the internet, there are so many options now to watch good Islamic programming, independent programming. So you have your own platform and you have an audience. So this is great. You're producing material, and people need to be watching this kind of independent news analysis, Islamic teaching from Muslims who are teaching the right values. If we just take your eyes off of these channels, CNN, BBC, NBC, even something like Al Jazeera, because Al Jazeera is also heavily affected by a liberal secular narrative. Take your eyes off of that and put it on good Muslim independent media. This will go a long way in combating this kind of psychological attack on the ummah. That's my top recommendation, because it's something very easy that you can do, very easy and quick.
Jazakallah khair. That, alhamdulillah, we have done the same thing in our house. It's an example that if somebody just randomly walks to your house, walks into your house and speak to your wife, you will have a problem with that. But you have no problem, man speaking to your wife and your children. That's okay. I want to share a case study, just an example of Afghanistan I want to give you. Alhamdulillah, I've been in almost all news TV channels in Afghanistan. I've been there and spoke to them, and being in the morning show, evening show, whatever show they want to call it. And I was questioning them. Okay, you know what? I know the GDP, the economy, because alhamdulillah, we have a number of projects there. How do you support your channel? And wallahi, every one of them told me, if we don't receive fund from American embassy every month, the next month we are closed.
Oh, subhanAllah.
And that's not a small amount.
Yeah.
Like $100,000, $50,000, and there are 34 channels.
Wow.
And can you imagine? And I told them, okay, these are certain programs that doesn't make sense. It says the people, you cannot say that in every channel they're all, evil. No, they are good people as well. They told me their programs, everything are designed by them. The dramas were coming from Turkey and from India. They are designed and brought by them. They're translated by them. And what's interesting, if you watch Dirlish Arturul, even though I do not agree with the show, but I'm just saying, I watched the show in Turkey as well as when I was in Afghanistan. I just watched it in the local language. There were certain things were never mentioned in Turkey and in their own language. For example, Ya Ali. There were, but in Afghanistan version, there were elements. I say, okay, you know what? In the Turkish version, there's no such thing. Like Ya Ali. There were elements of Shiaism. There were elements of, you can say, a lot of otherism, like, elements of some liberalism. But in actual Turkish drama, there was no such thing. Imagine, it's not only CNN, what I'm trying to say here, it's not only CNN and BBC, but it's actually your own home channels as well. You have to question. The program doesn't make sense. Why they would do that? And from where the money is coming, you look at the GDP of the country, look at the businesses, how many advertisement could be there. But there are 34 channels only in Kabul. Can you imagine? 34 private channels. I'm not saying the provinces, only in Kabul. You have in Herat, you have in, and if you want to set up channel, they come up to you. Okay, you know what? We're gonna give you fund, and you're gonna do this. It's not only America. France is coming to you, America is approaching you, Germany is approaching you, and there's a huge fight going on how to change people's mind, and they have changed it. They have changed it now. Right now, I don't think so. America shouldn't be there because people are liberals. They think like Americans. They drink like Americans. They want to go to KFC. They feel really enlightened when they eat from some pizza and burger instead of having their own food. That's how they see it. They see that the person who has a beard, he's a backward. The person who, he's studying Islamic sciences, that means he doesn't know anything about the dunya, and maybe, he should be taught how to eat his own food. That's a negative effect of media, unfortunately, in our countries. I just give the example of Afghanistan. Maybe you can provide one or two examples, some other countries, so people can, inshallah, take benefit from that as well.
Yeah, the same thing we have in the US, the same kind of issues, and in other countries that I see, other communities, they have the similar problems. My family is from Iran, so what used to be Shia, but I became Sunni when I was in high school. Alhamdulillah. So, I mean, I see certain things. I'm still connected because of my family to Iran. And my own parents were affected by this kind of secular ideology. And this is from the previous generation, but they also view if you have a beard for example, or you wear hijab, or you are not drinking alcohol, then this is Iranians. Some Iranians think that that means you're backwards, or that you are living in the past and you haven't modernized, etc. So this is something that affecting the entire Muslim world. This is exactly what we're talking about, of liberal secular ideology affecting people's understanding of what it means to be rational, what it means to be moral, what it means to be enlightened. Because enlightenment, it comes from light, nur, right? And nur is from Allah. So in fact, what they're calling enlightenment is darkness. It's a rejection of the nur of Allah. So we have to be aware of this kind of poison that is this liberal secular ideology, and that's why I said it's the biggest threat affecting the Muslims.
Jazakallah khaira. So, do you advise people to come on social media, make videos, whatever they're interested about? Of course, it should be based on Islamic principle. Do you advise people?
I think that you have to be very cautious. You have to have a strong connection to good scholars and a good religious advisor, because if people just go online and start creating their own social media, unfortunately, we have many Muslims who are doing this. Like you mentioned, the ones who they have professional life and personal life. So this is something bad. We don't want to increase the number of people who come online and say, oh, they want to speak about Islam, or they want to speak about certain issues, and they're ignorant, or they're spreading the wrong message. So anyone who wants to do it, if they have the ability to do so and they have certain level of religious knowledge, they should just make sure that they are connected to a religious advisor, a scholar, who can make sure that they don't say anything wrong on behalf of Islam, and that they aren't causing more confusion and problems. But if they can meet those conditions and they're going to say something good, then great, then that you should say it. But as the Prophet ﷺ said, speak good or remain silent. So there's no obligation to speak out, and if you're not confident that what you're saying is accurate and correct, then save yourself and save your audience from any kind of mistakes or problems, because anything wrong that you say, that could be held against you in the akhirah. You'll be judged for the problems that you cause. So it's not a light issue, it's not a light matter.
Jazakallah khair. Or if you cannot make it, some people they don't feel comfortable coming on the camera. Support the organizations and the speakers that you feel that they are mashallah upon the haqq and propagating Islam. That's also you can be part of the mission as well. There are sometimes, I'm sorry, I'm fluctuating my questions. It's because I want to get the answers that really I've seen online and people have asked in different sessions. A lot of people make the claim that if Muslims are all good, you can say that if Islam is all good and Muslim countries are good, then why Muslims are coming to the West? How would you answer to them? Why Muslims are coming to the West?
In many cases, not all, Muslims are coming for just economic reasons. In some cases, in many cases, it's because their countries have been destroyed by the West, because their countries have been literally invaded by the West, bombed by the West, or the United States or the EU has created civil war, or they've supported certain kinds of uprising or coup in their country. So the West has created a lot of refugees, millions of refugees. So that's one reason. And then the other reason, some people come for educational purposes. So like in my family, a lot of my family, so my dad has 19 brothers and sisters. So
Mashallah.
it's a big family, mashallah. And those, I think half of them came to the West. And
how many cousins do you have in total? Maybe 40 something?
Yeah, maybe over 100, 120.
Mashallah. Okay.
So many cousins, alhamdulillah. But the reason that they came to the West was because of my grandfather. My
Okay.
grandfather had this, he was completely westernized in a
Hmm.
sense. He was westernized in the sense that he believed that the best thing that you can study, the most important, most valuable thing is engineering and medicine
Hmm.
and business. Like these are the most important things. And I'm not saying that they're not good. They have a place,
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong with them. But when you
Hmm.
have it in your mind that this is the best and this is the ideal and there's nothing better than that, then you have wrong priorities. So many of them, he sent them to study in the West, in the United
Hmm.
States and Canada, and they most of them stayed. You know, my father, he came and studied engineering, and he stayed. And the thing is that when you stay, then you're going to lose your many times you're going to lose your religious values. Your children might be not even speaking your language. Your
Hmm.
children might not even have your religion. So this is the cost. This is the danger of coming to the West. But it was because of this idea that the most important thing is engineering, and we have to
Hmm.
come to the West to educate ourselves because that's going to bring money and economic benefits. But people don't think that, look, you're coming to the West in pursuit of money and opportunity, but what are you giving up? What is going to be lost? You're coming to an environment that is extremely secular. You're coming to an environment that is anti-Islam, that's anti-religion. You're coming to an environment that there are no family values. So there's also examples of the man comes
Hmm.
by himself, and he wants to have his wife from the home country. So he gets
Hmm.
married, and he brings his wife, who is, mashallah, very pious. She
Yeah.
brings her, and then she completely changes overnight, and she takes off the
Okay.
hijab, and she does all these things. So uh, these kinds of problems, you might have gained some money, you might have gained a nice house or a nice car, but what have you lost? You've lost your family, you've lost your heritage, you've lost your deen.
Hmm.
This is a much greater loss. So that kind of mindset is not there when you have people in the Muslim world who think that, oh, if only I could get a visa, if only I could get a green card to come to the West, it'll just be a great situation. But you've taken for granted all of the benefits of living in the Muslim world, all of the security in terms of your family, the family values, the love, the harmony of your society. Like you go in any of these major cities in the West,
Hmm.
like you mentioned, homelessness,
Hmm.
right? So many people are homeless. So many people are on drugs. So many people are in jail. Some many people are very rude. Like you go to the store and you'll see a child, like maybe 5 years old, who will hit his parents or hit his mom and shout and yell and many shocking things you'll see. Like this is not a human being anymore. So why would you want to come if you have the choice? Why would you come and live here? You have to have a good reason for that. Like for example, if you're a refugee
Hmm.
and you have no other choice. So I mean, this is what we have to remember. But if you have a rosy picture of, oh, this beautiful Western world, then
It's
it's
not.
complete.
I think I would actually give two messages. One to the people who want to come, if they put the same efforts in their home countries, like the hours they work in America and Europe, they work like 10 hours, 12 hours, two, three jobs. But in the home country, they wake up 11 a.m. from sleep. And, still, if they put the same efforts, trust me, and the amount that they're spending on the way coming here, if they spend that amount set up a business for themselves, I'm 100% sure that they can do very well in their home country. And coming to the Western countries, actually, we are not the one giving lotteries away. We are not the one, inviting all the translators who have been to with us there. You are the one.
Mhm.
And then you're saying why you are coming, bro, because you have the lottery system, you have the visa system. We are not, right? So maybe they should change their policies if they don't want. I believe, based on economical reason, if the Asian, for example, the Muslim or the Asian, they don't come to Western countries, trust me, these people will run to them because they need the manpower. They need people for their companies. Like here in Germany, 1 million jobs are empty. 1 million jobs. They need people, 1 million people in every embassy. I was in Malaysia and I went to the German embassy and I saw there's a poster. They're saying if you're coming to, please come to Germany. These positions are available. This is salary. They're advertising it. Come to Germany. And when you come here, they're telling you, why did you come here? You invite me in the first place. So there are a lot of reasons. It's not only some reason you have mentioned, some reason from their side. On the leaving note, since we are reaching to a time, my last question would be to you. Mashallah, you've seen the dawah online, offline, and what point would you say that if we can work on these points or we can change these points, we will be articulating the message of Islam in a more eloquent way or in a more Sharia-based way? What's your point? I mean, if you can mention a few.
I'd say that it all begins with confidence. We have to truly believe that Islam is the haqq and that Islam is the best path. Sirat al-Mustaqim is the best path for the dunya and for the akhirah. If we don't really believe it and we don't feel it, we don't have the taste of it, the dhawq of that, then we're going to be on the back foot and we won't be able to convey the message, because people can feel your confidence and they can know if you're being apologetic or if you're being shy or you don't really believe that Islam is the truth. So we have to change the state of our hearts and develop ikhlas, develop that sincerity to Allah and to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to the deen. If we have that kind of confidence, then that will radiate and improve many aspects of what we do in our lives, living our lives in our personal and also professional life, in dawah and in everything. So the message that I always go back to, or the expression that I go to, is a statement of Umar radiallahu anhu, who when he first became Muslim, he wanted the Muslims to go and pray in the haram. And he was wondering, why aren't we going and praying in the haram? And we're only praying privately inside, and we're not showing that we have the truth. And so he made a statement, Alasna ala al-haq. It's a question, Alasna ala al-haq. Are we not on the truth? Don't we have the truth? That's the attitude.
SubhanAllah, yeah.
So this is the attitude that we need to have. Aren't we on the truth? We have to be very confident and speak to people on that level and live as if, in that way, because we do have the truth. Islam is the truth. It is the path for success. And if we internalize it, then inshallah, Allah will give us, because of that sincerity, Allah will give us tawfiq.
Jazakallah khair, akhi. May Allah bless you, grant you tranquility and prosperity for your dawah and for your confidence and for being outspoken, explicitly explaining what the actual message of Islam is without compromising it with the values that some people are trying to, have a salat with it. May Allah bless you, akhi. Jazakallah khair. Hopefully we have more sessions. And also all those brothers and sisters who watched till now and who will be watching till now, I'm sure they might continue later. So may Allah bless you, inshallah. Thank you so much, akhi, for coming on.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.